Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. Well, today we're going to be talking about the Visayan Warty Pig.
Okay.
And, from the notes that you've seen for this one, that you're super interested in these critically endangered species
Yeah, absolutely.
and the conservation efforts that are going on around them. And this is one that's got both a really tough story and a lot of really great stuff going on to try and protect these animals.
That's what makes it so interesting, right?
Yeah. So we're taking all our information today from this essay that we got. It's all about this Visayan Warty Pig, so let's get into it. And one of the first things I have to say is they have warts.
They do.
They have actual warts on their faces. What's that about?
Well, it's funny, right? The name is descriptive, and those warts, they're not just for show. They actually, especially in the males, they use them for defense.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of like, built-in armor when they're going head-to-head with each other.
So they're like fighting with each other.
Oh, yeah. Dominance battles.
Oh, that's cool. I also read that they have mohawks.
Yeah, it's not quite a mohawk like you'd see in a punk rock band, but they have this crest of hair that runs down their back.
Oh, okay.
And get this, it actually gets even bigger and more pronounced during mating season.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so we're picturing this pig. It's got these warts and this mohawk. How big are they?
That's actually something that surprised me when I first learned about them. You might picture pigs as these massive creatures,
Yeah.
but the Visayan Warty pig is actually relatively small. The males, they only weigh around 20 to 30 kilos.
Wow, that's much smaller than I would have thought.
Uh,
Okay, so we've got this image in our minds now of this really unique-looking pig. But sadly, we have to talk about their numbers. I mean, they used to be found on 6 Philippine islands,
Right.
but now it's down to just Panay and Negros. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Sadly, their range has shrunk dramatically.
And that makes them incredibly vulnerable. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's one of the biggest problems in conservation. When you have a species confined to such a small area,
Hmm.
any further habitat loss, any kind of disruption can be catastrophic.
And habitat loss is a big problem in the Philippines.
Oh, it's a huge problem. I mean, deforestation rates in the Philippines are among the highest in the world.
Wow.
And that's directly impacting the Visayan Warty pig. Less forest means less food, fewer places for them to hide, and more chances of running into humans, which leads to conflict.
And conflict often leads to hunting, right? Even though I read that it's illegal in many areas.
Sadly, yeah, hunting remains a major threat. They're hunted for food, sometimes for income, and unfortunately, weak law enforcement is a problem in a lot of places when it comes to protecting these animals.
That's so frustrating. But are there groups that are working to try and strengthen those laws?
Yeah, definitely. There are efforts to push for stricter laws, better enforcement, but a lot of the burden falls on conservation groups to protect the remaining populations.
Oh, right. Okay. And what about interbreeding? Because that's a problem, right? With domestic pigs.
It's a massive problem. When you have Visayan Warty pigs interbreeding with domestic pigs, it dilutes their unique gene pool.
So they start to lose those characteristics that allow them to thrive in their specific environment.
Exactly. It's like their warty pigness is fading away.
Right. Yeah. That's why I read in this essay, it was talking about genetic diversity is key to their long-term survival.
Absolutely.
So even if their numbers start to come back up, if they're all kind of a mix
Then they might not have the adaptations they need to survive in the wild.
okay, I'm ready for some good news. What about the breeding programs?
Yeah.
Because I know there are some really incredible efforts going on there.
There are organizations like the Philippine Biodiversity Conservation Foundation. They're doing amazing work. And zoos around the world are involved too.
Cool.
They're not just breeding any pig, they're carefully managing these populations to maintain that genetic diversity.
So they're keeping track of which pigs are breeding with which pigs.
Yeah. They're trying to make sure they have representatives of all the different genetic lines. It's like creating a living library of the species' genetic heritage.
Oh, that's so cool. And then alongside that, we need habitat, right? They need somewhere to live. So what's happening with the habitat restoration efforts?
There's been a big push, especially on Panay and Negros, to establish protected areas. And they're really working hard on reforestation projects, literally trying to rebuild the forests that these pigs need to survive.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really massive project.
It is a massive undertaking, and it takes time. forests don't grow back overnight.
Of course, of course. But it's so encouraging to hear that those efforts are happening.
Yeah, it's really inspiring to see those projects gaining traction.
You know, it's funny. I actually saw a Visayan Warty Pig at a zoo once.
Oh, yeah.
And I was so surprised by how small it was.
They are smaller than you expect, yeah.
Yeah. But there was something about with those warts and the mohawk, it looked really tough, really resilient.
They do have a certain presence about them, don't they?
They really do. And that actually kind of reminded me of something that I was reading in my research about the cultural significance of this pig.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about the ecological impact, right?
Mhm.
This pig actually has a place in Philippine folklore.
Right. It's not just a scientific curiosity. It's woven into the culture.
Yeah. It's like a symbol of strength and resilience in some of their stories and their art. And that really resonated with me because that's what I saw in that pig at the zoo, that kind of tough little...
It's a great example of how conservation isn't just about saving a species. It's about preserving a part of a culture's heritage, too.
And maybe that's something that can help motivate people to protect it, too.
Absolutely. When you understand the cultural value of a species,
Mm.
it can really galvanize local communities to get involved in conservation efforts.
Yeah. Well, this has been so interesting. We've learned so much. I mean, we've gone from talking about warts and mohawks to really understanding the complex threats that the Visayan Warty Pig is facing and the incredible efforts that are being made to save it.
It really highlights how even a creature that might seem, a little bit unusual can play such a vital role in an ecosystem and in a culture.
Absolutely.
Losing a species like that, it's not just a loss for the Philippines, it's a loss for all of us.
It really makes you think, what other animals out there are facing these same challenges? What can we do to help protect these animals?
It's a question worth asking.
It is. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.